So please welcome Kelly Bowker to the show. Welcome, Kelly.
Oh, I'm thrilled to be here, Ashley.
Oh, this has been such a fun journey for me to learn about you and why people like Dan, who connected us, my sweet friend Dan. Now I'm sure he's your sweet friend because he just has that magic. But connected, and I thought I know. And then I realized that in this group that I know, Dan, I had your video from Alex's YouTube or his podcast. Someone had sent me that already. Ashley, and I sent it to her. She goes, I already sent that to you. I'm like, oh my gosh. Of
I didn't,
course you did. So you were already in my life on my, ready. I probably had already listened. I started listening. I go, oh, no wonder Dan wanted me to meet her. So then you willingly said yes. And I started going down your rabbit hole. And I guess, when I meet people and I'm on this is my fourth year in this podcast journey and grown so much. And we're not that much, our age difference, like 5 or 6 years, we're not that much in difference. And when I watched, so what I got from you was like, you're so relatable. You have cocktail hour with your husband every night. I love that. You've been married since you were 18 and you live in Maine. You're just like, you haven't moved. You just are this simple, raised Baptist and, just this woman that kind of lived a simple life, believed in Jesus, had her cross, the whole thing. And what I love now about where we're at this 2024 moment is everyone's starting to open up their gifts, the vibrations lifting. And when people hear your story, they're going to say, well, if Kelly can do it, I can do it.
that's my tagline.
But it's so true because I have going, like when I say, I've really progressed over the last 4 years and you can see it in the guests that I bring on and where I'm at in my spiritual growth. But I think if I were to say after learning about you is what you will give to people when they're listening to this is this place where they know, well, they're listening to this because they understand we're shifting and everyone is a channel and we're opening that even more. People like you are coming out all the time now. I mean, I have friends that are connecting to me from listening to this podcast 2 months ago. And now she's like, I'm traveling in the night. I'm like, she's like channeling and it's amazing. So I want to start with kind of how maybe now that I've kind of given people like the little bit of the background, maybe go to when you started like looking up Wim Hof and kind of right there so we can kind of go into some deeper stuff.
That was probably, I really should get my timeline more solid, but boy, I'm telling you, I have a very tenuous grasp on time now. I used to be a timeaholic. I have a clock in every room, but time
Huh.
is very nebulous to me, which is kind of cool. I was thinking about that today. But so it's probably 7 years ago-ish. I living my life, teaching school, teaching high school, married, happy. Have always loved my work, love my husband, love my kids, love my life, love where I am. I live in a beautiful, beautiful place. Um, but then I started to not be feeling that joy. I've always been very Pollyanna. I've always been, I mean, if I had a drop in my cup, it was half full. It was not a problem. I was good. It started to be different. The not knowing who I was, not having a clear grasp. I've been so many roles all my life. I never had an opportunity to figure out who is Kelly.
Hmm.
And I felt not okay. I felt out of balance. I felt disconnected. All of the normal things that always had worked in my life, all of my tools in my toolbox weren't working. And I love to say that the angels are kind and they tap you gentle, and then they tap you a little harder, and they whack you a little bit, and then the old two before is going to come out. Well, for me, the two before was I had a couple of years during that time of one thing after another. I was sick. I had a couple of summers where I had injuries every summer, like 2 or 3 summers in a row that kept me from being able to swim. I broke my foot. I stepped on a thing and drove it into my leg and got an infection, all the stupid stuff.
Mhm.
Just one thing after another. But I still wasn't really getting the message. And then I got the big diagnosis of rheumatoid arthritis and started to really physically decline. And so at this point in time, I've had umpteen respiratory things happen. I ache all over. I can't hardly move. I can't hardly get out of my own way. I'm like, what to blue blazes is going on? And I was so debilitated respiratory wise that I couldn't even walk the length of my house without being winded.
Hmm.
So the one thing I could grab a little control over was that I Googled how to strengthen my lungs and I found Wim Hof. What I've learned since then is people use lots of different modalities to shift reality.
Mhm.
Use plant medicine, people use, all kinds of different ceremonies. Um, Wim Hof's breathing method is hyperoxygenation followed by hypoxia, which is no oxygenation. Pause, do it again. And you do these rounds, it's called. When I was doing those rounds, and it was building up my lungs. If anyone is struggling with their respiratory system, I highly,
Hmm.
definitely recommend doing it. And even to try, I haven't done it in ages and ages, but it really was a good segue for me because what I started to feel between those rounds, that woo feeling, that disconnected from reality, just woo feeling.
Mhm.
And I started to, the guides were right there with me. They were using that. They were using that time to kind of nudge me, get my attention to, it's just there's so much more here. There's so much more. And I started to stretch those periods of time. Up to that point, as I've shared many times, I had avoided anything to do with meditation because I couldn't meditate. I had too busy of a mind. How many times have we all heard that from someone?
Right.
And so I had skipped that section of every self-help book that I've ever read. And I had read a really good Joe Dispenza book and skipped over the big section on meditation.
Hmm.
And so when I started to have this experience, I went back to that book. I don't even remember which one it was, but I went back to that book and I read that section. And then one thing, I just started to kind of study about it, study about the physiological benefits about how that when we hold ourselves in that space, our body can regenerate. And it gave me a little tiny sliver, what I felt like was a little control over something that felt completely out of control.
Mhm.
I felt like a 90-year-old woman. I mean, I feel 25 right now.
Oh, wow. Yeah. Huh.
Honestly, I felt I was so debilitated. So yeah, I started the meditation journey. And I just continued trying over a few years, trying to get my feet back underneath me with my joy, but I wasn't getting there. It wasn't a fast spiral down. It was a very slow, gradual spiral, but it was down. It wasn't up. And as with most things in my life, I'd go down, you say about 100% of things in my life, that for me, my turning point is going to be when I admit it to Michael.
Hmm.
When I let my husband, my love, know that I'm not okay. And we were on a fishing trip. And one of my little go-tos that I sing with great joy and abandon and have my whole life is Happiest Girl in the Whole USA.
Oh,
I
cute.
was standing up in our fishing boat with my back to him, and I'm singing that song. And the tears are just coursing down my face. He can't see me. And I'm feeling just broken. I'm just feeling broken. And I turn around and I mean, you can imagine, he just goes, honey, what's happened? And I just poured out that I was unhappy, that I was
Oh,
unhappy,
wow.
that I needed to do something and I didn't know exactly what, but I needed him to know. And of course, he immediately went to, you don't love me anymore. And of course, and I said, no, baby, I do love you. There are some things that we've got to change, I think. I really couldn't even put my finger on that at the time.
Mhm.
Just knew I wasn't okay, but I knew it was me. I knew it was me that wasn't okay. It wasn't us. It wasn't anything about anybody. It was me.
Right.
First time in my life I claimed
Hmm.
me. This is about me. It isn't about any of you people. It's about me.
Right.
And that was powerful. That was the beginning of me finding my way to my power as a woman, my power as a spiritual being, my power as a wife and a mother, and all the other roles that we go into. But yeah, that was the beginning of it. And I started the counseling that summer. That was in April. By that summer, I still usually that would swing the pendulum and I'd be able to get my grasp. I still couldn't. And so I started some counseling. And I went to counseling through Zoom every other week. And I started, I think, in the beginning of July, and it was in November that I was sharing with her. I had started to play with some Qigong, I think.
Hmm.
Between the Qigong and my meditations, I was having some wild and fun experiences. And so I shared a little of that with her, kind of testing the water to see if she's going to think I was nuts because I wasn't
Right.
sure. I wasn't 100% sure that I wasn't. And she was just such a blessing. She was such a blessing. And she told me to look up what did it mean to be an empath. And that was mid-November. It was before Thanksgiving in November. And January 11th, I think I channeled the first time.
Right. So, gosh, when you tell the story, because I haven't heard that part, that was new to me, and I've listened to a lot of your. So, um, when you think of even, saying that to your husband, and I just know your relationship, you've been married for 40 plus years, and you think of, just I think you're so authentic and real, and having that moment where you had to really like strip down your guard and show him.
Admit your vulnerability. You have to admit your vulnerability. That
Right.
and my counselor in the very beginning of this journey, she recommended Brene Brown's book. No, God, what's it
Dare,
called?
yeah,
Something dare something.
yes.
Yeah.
Uh,
But it's about you put Brene Brown vulnerability. It is a beautiful, beautiful work. It is a beautiful work and it is very powerful. And it speaks, I think, particularly to women, probably particularly to women of a certain age. We were raised in a certain way that made us act and think certain things. And we have to find our power, but you find your power, your true power, through acknowledging your humanity. And
right,
that's where the true power comes.
right.
So
So it's now let's go to when you started channeling in January 11th, but it was mediumship first. The
Chan
19-year-old daughter, the friend of yours who her 19-year-old daughter passed away.
in January and about so it was about yes, about 2 months later, in the beginning of March, right? Just plus or minus just a few days, 2 months. Um, what had happened, so I'll share with your viewers because some of them might be on this journey. You can only take yourself so far because there's a dialogue that's in our head all the time. We have our thoughts, right? So you're at it, you're experiencing something that is so unique. You think you're half crazy anyway.
Mhm.
You're having this conversation between Kelly and consciousness and asking questions and getting answers and feeling what it felt like and all of this kind of thing. But I was getting to a place where I didn't even realize I was getting to that place, but they realized and they said, it's time. And I'm like, time for what? And they said, it's time that you do this with someone else. And I'm like, oh shit. Oh, I had taken one class online for mediumship. I felt compelled around mediumship because of my friend. At that time, Ashley, I didn't know the difference between psychics, mediums, channels. I didn't know those words. I
Right,
didn't have language for this. This was all new to me. But I knew I wanted to help my friend. I felt a tremendous compellingness. And I think that young lady was part of my guides. I know she was.
Right.
I haven't heard from her in a while because mediumship's not part of my journey anymore, but I know that she was part of my journey. She's beautiful, beautiful soul. Never met her in life, but knew her well on the other
Right.
side.
Neat.
She's real. But so the guides tell me, okay, it's time. You need to set an appointment. Well, my friend who had lost her daughter, that is a much more traumatic experience. I had another friend that I worked with who had lost her dad, also very traumatically, but it still is a little more expected to have your dad pass away, not
Right.
you. So I was willing to try with her. And everything that I had read up to that point had said that if you could make a connection for like 10 or 15 minutes, it was a big deal. They talked about holding the link and all this stuff. And so, I'm like, okay, I'm focused. I'm gonna, and so I talk with my friend. We make the appointment for the next day at 3 o'clock after school. Okay. I wake up that morning, I go down the hallway to do my meditation, and I just cry out. I'm scared. I'm scared. I'm scared. I don't know what to do. Help me, help me, help me. I'm scared. I'm playing with other people's lives and feelings and pain. I didn't want to do anything wrong. And I'm like, oh, please, I don't know what to do. Oh my gosh. They know me. They're so kind. They gave me a checklist. They literally brought through a checklist. Enter the room, clear the room, ground your energy, ground your person's energy. Papa, send your heart energy to theirs, send both hearts' energy to us. I mean, boom, boom, boom. I could not have asked. They practically gave me a script to follow because they knew I needed something. I was scared to death. I was scared to death. I brought through her dad. It was over an hour. I didn't realize that all mediums did not channel. The minute I kept holding him back, so I don't like doing mediumship because for me, the experience is they want to talk. And I felt like Roger Rabbit behind my face pushing. That's
Huh.
what it, but the person that I took the class from is all about the evidence, got to have evidence. So I'm in my head saying, give me evidence and I'll let you talk. Give me evidence and I'll let you talk. But the evidence comes through choppy and it's harder. But I did bring through beautiful, perfect, just unmistakable evidence. It was so cool. One of the things that stands out in my mind was an old-fashioned water pump, and I can see it in my mind still. And she just, gasped when I said it. And then I find out that at the graveyard where he's buried, there's an old-fashioned water pump, and that she had spent the previous summer just crying and pumping that water and crying and railing at her dad. Why did this have to happen? He got hit by a car and it was terrible. Why did this happen to you? Why? Just railing at God. So that what he wanted her to know he was there with her,
Wow.
right there with her when she was going through that. So it was so significant. But anyway, so then I got out of the way and I channeled and we'd been doing it probably 35 minutes or so. And I mean, the snot's running, the tears are running. So we're both completely stunned that this is happening. We're both stunned.
Right.
But we get up, we walk around, get tissue, we're laughing. Can you believe this? Blah, blah, blah. We're going at it. I think we're done. I think it's over. And we're just, I can't even believe all of this. Can you? And blah, blah, blah. And all of a sudden, woo, and I go, he's not done.
Oh, geez.
He's not done. And then I fall into a chair practically. She sits back down. She had hid a thing that needed to come out, and it was a healing thing. And it just was beautiful. It wasn't any big dramatic or anything like that, but he knew that she needed to hear him say some stuff. And he got his opportunity to say it. And it was really a blessing for her. So it was just beautiful. It was just beautiful.
Wow. When you're listening, since that was like one of your first times, are you doubting? Are you questioning? Or are you just letting it flow? Because I've heard people where they're like that I'm learning how to channel and I'm listening, and I do a ton of automatic writing. And at the beginning, I'm getting so much more confident in knowing it's not me. And I can tell in the writing that it's not my words and my language that I would normally write. So I get that through that. That's how I channel. But, I'm like, just like listening to you talk and trying to figure out when you're talking to someone, especially bringing her dad through. And, I know you love Suzanne Giesemann. She's been on my podcast, her evidential stuff that she uses, it's just so, it's like
It's so validating.
validating. But it's like when it's coming through and you're seeing it in your eye, like you see it like in your mind's eye.
All kinds of different ways. I see it, I hear it, I feel. Like sometimes when I was doing mediumship, it was like I'd get a kind of feeling. Like I remember one husband comes through, and the minute he come through, I felt a swagger. And I went, he was a flirt. Oh, yes. And I just, oh my gosh, he was a ladies' man. And the minute I say that, I'm like, oh shit, thinking, talking to his wife, and she goes, oh no, he had every nurse in the place wrapped right around his finger. He was a ladies' man. I mean, and I felt that he was funny and fun, and I could feel all that, but not everybody feels like that. That's one of the other reasons I don't like doing mediumship. I don't like feeling all those emotions.
Right. Right.
No, Suzanne is who I took the class from, and for me, my first book is called Redefining Faith. And at the very beginning, before I even channeled the first time, I bought Suzanne's first introductory mediumship course. And there was wonderful stuff in it, absolutely helped me. But if you've studied Suzanne very much, you know that she does not come from a history of faith.
Right.
She doesn't have that lineage of spirituality that I do.
Right.
I would do all of her things. She calls it the sign game and all that. Oh no, none of that works for me.
Hmm.
None of that works for me. And I would get so pissed off. And I would say to my guides, because I mean, I feel them. I know it's them. My jaw shakes, my butt. I mean, I have all this proof. I have all this proof. And when I did mediumship, I brought through evidence. There's not a question about that. But I'm like, why can't I get signs? And they would whisper so gently, but it would really, really make me mad. Yours is a journey of faith. And I'm like, but a few signs would be nice. But mine is a journey of faith. And it is different. It is different. Mine is a journey of faith. And that means, what is faith? It's trusting in what you can't see.
Right.
But I know it. I know it. I know it. I had a moment of listening. There are some concepts that my guides have brought through that are different than I have heard from other people. A lot of it you have heard. Of course, it's mostly the same. We're not talking about a whole different ball game here,
Right.
but there are some ideas that I hadn't heard completely validated. And today I started to cry because I was listening to the most recent Alex Ferrari's thing. And this woman brings through the Akashic records, and she gave almost verbatim what my guides had given me about the potentials and the timelines out from the present moment. And
Oh,
I'm like,
wow.
oh my God. And I got goosebumps. I started to cry. And I'm like, that is nice when that happens. It's not necessary, but it's awfully nice. It's awfully nice to have that validation.
Right.
It just is. It just is. I'm human. I'm human.
Right. So she was talking about what you had been downloaded that morning.
No, I got downloaded this months ago. It's just a way of looking at the present moment and the way that we navigate life between timelines.
Right.
The answer to the law of attraction. It's the answer to why it works at the level that it does now, because it's got to do with the multiverse.
Right.
It's language that I just didn't even know to understand. And the way she explained it, I'm like, oh my gosh, that's exactly what they gave me.
Right. I woke up the other day with this multiverse timeline. I had interviewed Peter D. Benedictus. Have you heard of him? You would enjoy him. And we talked about timelines on that interview. So it was after that interview, and I woke up and I'm like, okay. And you explain it this way too, is like the law of attraction. We both studied Abraham Hicks, we but the timelines are like if I was going to create, in order for me to create a business that's successful and have this flourishing business or whatever that looks like, I need to live that vibration. I need to live in that as I'm as that moment. I could also be living over here, being a mom without anything and just loving that. But there's all these different timelines, but you have to be a match vibrationally to that. Is that?
Can I give you a little tweak on that?
Yes, please.
I'm not understanding. Because I think there's a little misunderstanding around the specificity, is that the right word?
Mm-hmm.
Of manifestation. You think, okay, I've got to be feeling what it feels like to be living in that job, in that whatever. As you were saying that, my guides were like, because you said, or I could be over here as the mother. It is the vibration of knowing that it's all coming.
Mm-hmm.
Knowing that I don't have to know what's in the presents under the Christmas tree. I know they're going to be good.
Right.
It's the vibration as you are reveling on the floor playing with your kids, or you are reveling at a boardroom table making $1 million deal. It's the frequency. And yet your description was close to being right, but it doesn't hinge on the visualization and the whatnot. It's that my guides gave me that night before Christmas, that big Sears and Roebuck catalog, and you're circling and you're
Yes.
theming, you're thinking, because there's no limit. Santa doesn't have a budget. It could be anything. Oh, it could be that. It could be that. Don't limit it. I think people limit it. I'm goosebumps all over.
Oh
What
gosh.
they have
Me
just
too.
what they have just told, they've told me over and over again. Like, for instance, I'm a little country girl from Lee, Maine. I'm 61 years old. Who the heck would think that a beautiful person like you would ever want to talk to me? Why would I end up on the Alex Ferrari show? Why would I end up, having people want to pay me money to talk? I love to talk. I mean, who would dream that I would have these kinds of experiences? I couldn't have scripted that, but I live with the knowing of the goodness. I
Right.
live with that expectation. And I live with that, just that night before Christmas feeling as often as I possibly can. That's your deliberate creation.
Right.
Worry about, is it this business or that bank account or that? It can be all of it or none of it. It's that
Right.
feeling. It's that.
Oh, yes. Oh, when I listened to you talk about that Sears Roebuck catalog, that I
Mhm.
remember, I got off that interview that I listened to you say that, and I'm texting my sisters going, I'll never forget. I can still be in that place. And I was telling Richard that too. Like, did you get the Sears catalog? And it would be that exactly that feeling. And my sister was like, oh my gosh, yes, we would circle everything. We would, turn over the dog ear, the pages. And
Here all the pages are tear them out,
yes.
put a pile of this and a pile of that. Oh my God.
Oh,
I love it. They gave that to me when I wrote my second book. They brought that energy through. They said it's the energy of, oh, what's the words to describe that you're not counting on it, but anticipation. Just this beautiful, beautiful, excited anticipation of the next awesome thing that's coming.
yes.
Reveling in the beauty of what's right in front of you. Because it doesn't matter, I'll share something with you. I
Okay.
probably shouldn't, but I'm going to. When I got done the Alex Ferrari interview, Alex must have seen something special in me, because he spent almost a half hour just chatting with me afterwards, which was beautiful. And I remember thinking, people would pay thousands of dollars for this kind of advice. This is friggin' awesome. But I also, as he talked, he's a brilliant businessman.
Right.
And he's talking about, well, you should do that, and you want to read this book, and you got to be sure you get your website up, and you got to be sure all this stuff. As he was talking, I'm sitting there and I'm literally experiencing waves of energy that felt like this, just waves. And each one was a little better, deeper sigh. And I'm sitting very politely and I'm listening to everything, but these just waves. And when it was all done, I thanked him very much. And I went out, my friend Fred was there, and I went out and I said, I have never been clearer in my life. And she goes, about what? And I said, this isn't a business. This is me. This is my life. When I start thinking I should this and I should that, I get all frigged up in my head. That
Right.
messes up. They said to me one particular day, because one of the things that the Alex interview did to my head was, you're going to miss this opportunity. Left brain, left brain, left brain. You've got to capitalize on this opportunity. This is an opportunity. You got to capitalize on this
Right.
opportunity. Oh yeah. Finally, one day when I'm like, because I don't know how to capitalize on an opportunity. I'm a little country girl from Lee Ming. We mustn't. So one day I'm sitting and I'm just kind of pitiful and I'm just like, I'm not liking how I'm feeling. And they say to me, sweetheart, you haven't had to do any work yet. And look where you are.
Right.
Why do you feel like you have to start doing it now? So I don't. I just
Oh,
am fortunate, and if I spend the rest of my life up in the North Maine woods fishing with my hubby, so be it.
right. I love
Because
that.
that, I'll just a little tiny thing right there, because the perfect knowing that they've given me, that is something for all of your viewers to know, is that when we love ourselves, when we tend to this, when we give compassion and care and nurturing to ourselves, we're doing it for the world.
Right.
When I do my inner child work and I hold my inner child and I rock her and I tell her how loved she is, I'm holding and rocking the inner child of the world. There is no greater purpose than loving our own beingness.
Mm-hmm.
And if we can find, you can do that in the North Maine woods.
Right.
It doesn't take being with other people. So I know that clearly. I know that 100% clearly, which really is such a blessing, because I navigate this world by letting it unfold, by just letting it joyfully unfold.
Oh, I love it. And it's so true. And I live that way and I try to parent that way and with my relationship with my husband. And it's been one of those, I'm usually the vibe, the high vibe talk. I teach teenagers. I created after this podcast. It was like the parents were struggling with 2020. So that was another branch of why I had to start a podcast. But and then I started interviewing a couple people that did light language, but that was like 2 years ago. And it was just people would send me a message going, what the heck is that? Well, now I know that came to you. And now it's like I have I have friends that do light language. And it's just part of the whole thing. It's part of the package.
Frequency.
Explain that, Kelly.
Well, all right, I will. Okay, so January channeling, March mediumship. Now I'm sure I'm on the mediumship wagon. I'm going to be a medium. I'm going to help the world and all this good, happy horse crap. And I don't mean to say that. I don't want to
Right.
get mad. Oh my God, mediumship is beautiful and wonderful. But I thought that was my journey. Then I am meditating one morning in June, and my feet started to feel funny. And then energy just started to roll up my body. I was reclined in a recliner with my phone on my chest, and I was channeling, which I, do with my meditations. And in my mind, because telepathy is instantaneous, it's hard to explain. It's not a linear conversation, but for the sake of this, you have to make it a linear conversation. So this whoosh of energy, and then my voice starts doing all this weird stuff, and my hands start going. My hands are just completely moving. Now I'm
Right.
holy shit, holy shit, holy shit. What the heck? What's happening? And so I'm in my head and I'm like, I'm scared, I'm scared, I'm scared. I remember that exact, probably put a few F words in there too. Uh, and they said, then stop. Just like that, then stop. And I said, but is this for my highest good? And they said, yes. And I said, then don't leave me. And they said, we never leave you. And they pulled their energy. I felt like I was being just hugged like in a cocoon right up and down my body of energy. But they left the front open and the light language just went. My mouth just went. And that is when I went from 110 to 220 on the energy scale.
Hmm.
Light language has the ability to raise your frequency layer by layer by layer. Every time you hear it, it can do something different. I believe every time you even can hear the same download, because all time is now. All
Right.
time is now. So if I bring through, which I will for you, if I bring through a light language blessing in this moment, it's coming through, but they know every person who will ever hear it. They know every time you might listen to it again. They
Hmm.
know it. So every moment is new, every moment is now. So when you hear it in this present moment, the frequencies do what's needed in this present moment. Because we set our intention. My intention is love and light. I want love and light in the highest good for anyone whoever hears my voice or my frequency or sees my frequency, because this is frequency too.
Hmm.
And so my intention is love and light. And it just does remarkable stuff. Every day is different. I want to say that too. If people think that this just it's like it's off and then it's on, oh no. I don't know about other channels, but just today I had a completely unique experience doing this work. With that, when I was done, I'm like, well, that was new.
Like what? Can you share that?
Oh gosh. Yeah, I guess I can. I got to think about it. So, disclaimer, I'm Kelly. There evidently I'm good at getting out of the way. Maybe I'll give myself a little credit for a fun personality, but I don't do any of this stuff. This is source energy. I am a channel. And what a channel is I open and I create a space for energy to come through. There's probably not any limit to what that energy is capable of, but I'm also a filter. You know, I wish I wasn't. I am. I'm human.
Right.
So we can't help but be a filter. And so my work is I work on my inner child. I work to undo the programming of childhood so that I can just sit in the power and not get in the way of the power. So today I had an experience with someone who they shared with me that they had ankle pain. Well, I don't proclaim even a little bit to be a healer. And I do know that people have experienced that through me, but it's just the thought of that, it's like, oh my gosh, I mean, I can't even imagine people who are able to do that. It's just incredible. And and she asked me if, could we ask the guides if there's anything that she's blocking or whatnot. Well, I go into the meditation and within seconds, I am in a space that is like a cave. I see a person. I don't really see male or female, raggedy, raggedy, dirty, 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 and they are in shackles. They've got big shackles around their ankles, huge, big links of chain connecting them to a wall. And this is dark and it's scary. And I'm in my head going, holy crap, what the hell am I seeing? And the guides just start doing their thing. They just started doing their thing. And I'm watching what I'm doing, going, at one point, Angel Michael came up out of the ground of that cave, just raised up with his mighty sword and went boom like that. The sparks flew, the thing come off their ankle, Boom, he did it on the other one.
Wow.
I mean, I'm just like, and I'm inside my head going, holy crap, holy crap, holy crap. And I mean, and I'm hearing my voice, I'm hearing the power of all the stuff that's coming through. And I'm humbled and overwhelmed to even share it.
Wow.
But it was incredible. It was incredible. I don't understand it. They did a lot of pushing across. They'll say across timelines, dimensions, incarnations, and realms. That is, the angels brought that to me when I wrote my second book. And that when I do that, I know that we're reaching through time. So I knew we were reaching through time for sure. But I've never had that experience of seeing something like that.
Wow. That's amazing.
It was
When you look at life now in Kelly as a human, do you how different do you look at the spirit world as a lot like it's more real than living in this body?
it's a collaboration. It's a collaboration. I wouldn't say more real than living in this body because we come forth for the expansion, for our experience. You know,
Right.
what can source energy not do? You know, well, so there's not much they can't do, but they don't feel. The only thing source energy feels is unconditional love. So when we express the whole cadre of emotions and we go through all of the different things that are part of being part of expressing our humanity, we are expanding the all through experience.
Right.
So it's definitely a collaboration. I I would say the greatest gift that I've gotten, personal in my own life gift that I've gotten through this work, or one of them, is that I am not so affected by things because I
Hmm.
lived my life as an empath without knowing what an empath was. Because I was
Right.
pretty sponge, hurt by everybody and everything my whole life. I've always been so hurt by the world, and I'm not anymore. I'm much, much stronger in the world in that kind of a way. Um, and I also can shift into that perspective. I wish I could say more often than I do, but I have the capability and I'm practicing just like everyone else.
Hmm.
That beautiful shift into that fifth D perspective where you can just sort of pull up and realize actors on a stage, baby, actors on a stage, you know. It's like there's
Yeah.
nothing too serious going on here. It
Right.
looks serious. It's real easy for me sitting on this beautiful, warm, cozy couch to say it's not too serious. I've been fed and I'm warm and I'm loved. So I don't take away from the pain of the world, not for a minute. I know that people are experiencing horrific things, but through the eyes of Source, it's all the same. The buffet of life, one thing on the buffet doesn't cost any more than the other thing. It's all part of the buffet.
Right. I love
And
that.
it's the way they look at it, and but it's not the way humans do because we agreed to duality. And duality means we need to see this is better than that, or that is worse than that, blah, blah, blah. That's duality. It's one of our agreements to play the game of life.
Right. But in 5D, when we live in the place of, like you were saying, I know you don't watch the news. I don't either. I live in that place of, what the magic is going to be today. Like I'm always looking for the magic. And I can live that way and be in that high place and find the magic and live in that space. But I know that other people are struggling, or when I see a homeless man, I send them love in my mind. And, but you have this, you believe too, like you just said, like I live in this couch, I have this beautiful home, my husband loves me, I have this beautiful dog next to me. But what when you think of your life and where it goes, and when you live in the moment, because there is no time, and I am understanding that more and more, and the way we ask questions as humans, like we how's the future, it's all right now, it's exactly what you said earlier, it's just like in that moment, it's this, you're in awe. You live in the moment of everything's perfect. The murderer, you said, has come down to or out of love.
That's hard. When you're the person whose loved one got murdered, that's a really hard concept. That's a really, really hard concept. And I railed, I screamed at them, tears coursing down my face, sobbing. I screamed at the heavens. You treat us like we're a bunch of effing bugs in a petri dish. One day when they brought through the concept of that stubbing your toe or rape, it doesn't matter to them from their
Right.
perspective. It's the same thing. It's an experience. And that just, at that time, this was a while ago, but at that time, that was a brand new concept to me. And I couldn't wrap my mind around it. I'm like, how dare you look at the friggin' pain on this earth and say it's nothing? They're not saying that it's nothing. That's important to understand. There is so much love and compassion for us. They know, but if you can fall into that knowing about time, that all time is now, that when we transition, people are like, I'll never come back and put myself through all this torture. And I get that, but when we transition, it's a blink, it's a heartbeat. There isn't the long suffering. It's like sitting through a really hard movie.
Mhm.
The
Right.
movie made you feel all kinds of stuff, but when the movie's over and you step back for a few minutes, you realize, well, it's just a friggin' movie. It's just a
Mhm.
movie. And that's really kind of what this life is. I know it doesn't feel that way, but
But
it is.
is that so when you look at your higher self, you look at spirit guides, you look at angels, do you look at them as a team that you're always with, even on the other, even when you're in spirit, when you're not in this body?
There are aspects, we all have a team, and there are aspects to our team that have been with us across millennia. And then, but when I channel, if you ask me a question, my intention, I don't have to say it every time. They know my heart. My heart's intention is love and light and upliftment. I reach across dimensions, timelines, incarnations, and realms for the answer to that question. And the energy just comes in and the energy comes through. Be
Hmm.
cool.
Yeah, should we channel? Should we?
Let's do. Shall we dance, my friend? Shall we dance?
Yes. Do you want to start with just a message and then I'll add some questions as we go and some.
So I want to just say to anyone who ever listens to this, open your heart to the language of light. The the angels come in. It is a frequency that can truly, truly make a difference in you. But we have free will. Free will is absolute in this dimension. So when you have a hard heart saying, right, 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 it's not going to do you any good. You have to, with your intention and your free will, say, I am open to what this has the potential for me if it's for my highest good, for love and light. So that is our intention together, okay?
Got it.
Siara kotoro mana ki tariana kozo matatiana kuro mana ki ataro niana ki ata. Azakiana no mana ya tu yana ki ato toriana ki ana koto skiaro totoro konana. Rokota yadoro konana ki tarona nana ki aizia nai. Aizia ki aina kotoro mana ki ana ki anozo koto. Arkia tarakia nana kurmana uru kia nana kia tarakatatora mana. Arkia rakomaniana kia rakona kia sia tia koto. Hazikia rakoriana kia rakatos. The journey of the human is not an easy path. We understand that. We would have you all know that we are not hardened to that which humans experience. We see the impact of the various unfoldings and the pain that is felt. When we have explained through this one that perspective as discussed, the intention behind that is that the human understands that there is no scorekeeper in the sky, so to speak, that is saying, oh, this one has suffered much. We give them many check marks, and this one has suffered little. They don't get any. That is not how it works. We would have you know that there is great love and compassion, complete and total understanding from this side as people go through their lives and their hardships and the unfolding. We would have you know you are seen and you are loved unconditionally. There are no mistakes, dear ones. There are no mistakes, for it all is unfolding for the greatest good of the all. We would just have you know that when we look about, we do not judge this against this, as it is the human potential to do through the eyes of duality. We do not have that perspective. So we would have you know that the little sparrow in the meadow is as precious to us as the king in the boardroom or whatever. There is no gradients to us. There is no hierarchy to pain, no hierarchy to good works or bad works. There is no hierarchy. This is a difficult concept to wrap one's mind around. We understand that. But how do you shift into the fifth dimension perspective without it? You do not. Would you ask us questions?
Are the children that are coming down right now, are they at a higher vibration? And are they meant to raise the vibration of the earth?
We would say that all listening in this moment knows the answer to that, as their 1 and 2 year olds can program their computers and their grandmas cannot. We would say, of course, dear one, when you look at the progression of what you call time, the beings are coming forth ready. For the earth is calling forth at a higher frequency than has ever been. This is all part of that sacred covenant between the Creator and Mother Earth. As humanity was developed and the game called life unfolded to be a possibility for the expansion, this is all part of the game. And indeed, the level of frequency is changing so much faster now. Even look at the last 5 years, how interesting. Even Kelly's journey, the people and resources that were available to her 2 and 3 and 4 years ago, so much different than today. As you spoke, so much more commonplace. People dare to say it. They dare to share their experiences. But the experiences have been happening for generations. Your history reflects a tiny bit of that. But it has been there, but exponentially faster now as we move to the next level.
And the next level is 5D. Is that how you describe the next level?
Yaro Koreana Kia Tarukomanana Kia Rosa Kia Tarakia Tarakiana Makoto Torkiana. It is the frequency and the understanding of the ability to deliberately manage your own frequency for your own experience. There are so many potentials, dear one. So when you make a statement like, this is where we are headed, it doesn't apply. For each individual one of you, there are many already experiencing the fifth dimension perspective. All is now. Every life you've ever lived, every life you ever will live is going on now. There is no time. It is all compressed into the present moment. But what we have, meaning humanity, the possibility, the capability of that is understood at a far greater level than has ever been understood, is we have the knowing that the power that we wield, that the human wields in the present moment, is the power of deliberately affecting your frequency. That is why when the conversation earlier went to either the happy mom or the happy businesswoman, we snagged her brain because it isn't how it works. It is the happy woman expressing in so many ways with ease and flow. It isn't an either or, it is the unfolding, the unfolding.
We speak of aliens quite a bit these days, and extraterrestrials and the Palladians and all the words. Has our soul been all of that? And are we doing that now as a portion of our soul in that dimension?
She smiles because this journey has been difficult for her. Being the country girl that she professes to be, it took quite a bit of time for her to wrap her mind around the vastness of the crystalline grid. The crystalline grid was given to her months and months, even years ago now. The vision of the interconnected web, as is spoken about. What we have shown this one is that web goes far beyond Mother Earth. There are dimensions, timelines, incarnations, and realms. They are all connected, dear one. It is all one. So to answer your question, yes, indeed, there are physical and non-physical entities that are part of this collective that comes through if the question warrants it. There are times when the question is answered perhaps by all angelic realm. There are times when it is Mother Earth. It is what is needed to answer the question. You are indeed, many, many of you, we would never use a blanket term like all, but many of you are incarnated now at many, many different beingnesses, different entities. Indeed.
Do we travel when we sleep?
Indeed. 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 It is the dream state or the sleep state is the time when the human consciousness has the greatest ease to move between frequencies, between the dimensions and the realms. This is often the case when one wakes up, occasionally feeling tired as if they have been busy, or they have. Or they wake up feeling refreshed and a great sense of accomplishment, and they have. It is all possible, dear ones. It is all possible. We would state emphatically, there is nothing that has ever been thought, dreamt of, or fantasized about, that there is not a reality, a timeline that holds that. Interesting, is it not?
Very.
Getting a little sassy there, aren't you? Oh, that was cool though. I wish people could see what I see in my
Oh,
mind.
me too.
I show
Gosh.
them all these pictures, and I do the best for the words. It's just incredible. But they just want us to see all of the potential. So much potential. So much potential. That whole nighttime thing is something that I personally am. I would love to be more intentional about it and more deliberate and have more memory. But I just trust. I just trust it's going to
Right.
unfold. It's supposed to. And you can't try. People are always saying, I want this and I want that. I want to be able to channel. I don't know how to make any of that stuff happen. You just have to allow.
Right.
The more you're in the vibration of allowing, the more that I believe things are going to come through. But if you want to ask another question, go ahead. I can shift right back.
Okay. I wanted to ask, yes, I wanted to ask because we talked about like dark energy or evil things or entities that are dark and, negative. Is that something on the other side, or can people have a soul come into their body that's an entity how does that work?
I don't know about that, and I'm not even going to ask. That's just
Okay.
a deal.
Okay.
But I will share with you my journey around that, because being the queen of Pollyannaville,
Right.
I was not going to talk about anything negative. Never, 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 never. I'm a being of love and light. Don't talk to me about dark energy. I don't need to think about protection. I don't need any of that bullcrap. That's not me. I'm all about the light. When I brought through light language, the only English words that I spoke in that very first transition, the words came out so I can speak with my brothers and sisters. And when I listened back to that and I heard that, it freaked me out,
Hmm.
because this was 2 years ago, and we have come a long way. Even Alex is talking about ET stuff. Alex specifically said to me before that interview, we aren't talking about anything extraterrestrial. And I'm like,
Huh.
okay, but even now Alex is, because it's moving that fast.
Right.
The people's awarenesses are moving so much faster. So there were some big pieces that had to fall into place for me to be able to do what I'm doing now, which is I I almost don't even think. I feel like I started to say the words, I don't think there's a limit, and I got, no, that's not right. But my limit is changing all the time. As I grow and as I practice and I get more solid and more strong in my grounding and my protection, I'm just learning more every damn day. And
Hmm.
I know I'm reaching farther and farther and farther every day. It's just incredible. It's just I can't even describe it. But so I said those words, got pissed right off, had a hissy fit, wouldn't talk to him, wouldn't meditate for about 2 weeks. Not talking to you anymore. And, and then I started to, and it took time. I thought this past summer, I had the big epiphany and realized that part of what I channeled was extraterrestrial energy. And
Right.
it was a big epiphany to me. Then they nudged me to go back into all of my downloads in my phone, because I've recorded almost everything I've ever done. And they just will drop, and I'll spin through, because there's hundreds of them, and
Wow.
they'll nudge me, and I'll stop it and I'll listen. And oh my God, they're telling me, but I couldn't hear it. I wasn't
Oh,
ready to hear it. I was scared. I was
right.
scared I just wasn't ready. So at the beginning of this summer, one of the big things that happened was I was cleaning my house and I started to get a download. I've got to just check my calendar really quick because I think I have a 3:30 thing. I started to get a download and it was I do. Uh I knew the energy was different, the way my mouth moved, the way the voice sounded. It was very strong. And I was moving my face really weird, which I don't typically like biting the words out. And that's when they said to me that there are physical and non-physical, benevolent and non-benevolent energies that through their, how did they say it? Through their technology and their intellect can and do interact with humans. And so think about that whole sentence. There's a lot of information in that sentence.
Right.
Physical and non-physical that are benevolent and not benevolent. And I got all upset and I started to cry. I said, I don't want to talk about this. I don't want
Hmm.
to talk about it. He said, Kelly, if you are going to do this work, you have to learn some of that side of it. And they said to me, it's common sense. It's just common sense stuff. Because I
Hmm.
got all and they said, when you go to the grocery store, you're not scared to death that someone's going to steal your purse, are you? And I said, no. And they said, but you don't leave your purse in the cart when you go walk away from your grocery cart, do you? Well, no, I don't. They
Hmm.
said, oh, it's the same thing.
Hmm.
It's the same thing. So since then, one of my big pieces or the big pieces that they've given me is I do a practice. I call it the 6-point meditation. You can find it out on my YouTube channel. I do it in my classes that I do. Um, and it combines 6 different things to manage our energy. When my angel team came through and I wrote my second book, the angels said, we need to tend to our energy just like we tend to our body. We wash our hair, we brush our teeth, we clean our fingernails, all of the stuff that needs to be done. Same for our energy body. We
Hmm.
need to tend to our energy body. So if people were going to ask me right now, if there was one piece of advice to gain clarity and to gain access to that higher knowing, do the 6-point meditation regularly. It
Okay.
has to take a lot of time. Sometimes I need it to be longer. Sometimes I do it in the shower and it takes me a minute and a half. Because if you're doing it regularly, it doesn't need to be so long. If you've had a bad experience, I feel drawn to do a longer version of it. But it's cleansing, it's balancing, it's grounding, and it's protection. And I put on shielding and I create a bubble around myself every day to protect me from energies that you can't, and people are like, oh, ETs are bad. No. Would you want humanity to be judged by the bad guys, by Hitler? No.
Right.
There's beautiful, wonderful, wonderful humans, and there's really, really bad humans. Same goes for ETs. There are beautiful, probably more benevolent, loving, I guess I don't know that, but I feel like it is.
Hmm.
Beautiful, loving beings that care about us and help us and give us the serendipities and the nudges and all that kind of stuff. And there are those that want to mess with us. There's those that are the mischief makers that don't want us to find our power. They want to keep us small and weak, but we're not. We're powerful beings. So to sum up about ETs, I can tell you from my personal experience, 61 years old, scared right to death, they have been so kind and so gentle. A little bit of information and then nothing for some weeks. Tiny bit more than nothing. Tiny bit more than nothing until I was like the little froggy in the frying pan. And I finally was like, well, of course I've channeled ETs. Who wouldn't? I mean, come on.
Oh,
And that,
funny.
and that's just the way that it has worked. And it's beautiful and they are loving. And I do think it's important to just acknowledge the common sense practices that we do. This is a real world that we're talking about. This is not airy fairy pretend. We
Right.
are talking about a non-physical world that is real and powerful and loving and benevolent and all the good stuff, but also has that other side too. And so we have to do, just common sense practices that make us be absolutely okay. There's no fear. I have no fear anymore. I'm a
Right.
powerful friggin' being now. Who'd
Oh,
have
I
thunk it?
love it. I
I know.
love.
Who'd have thunk it? This little old country girl.
Oh, Kelly, it's been so fun. I've loved it every minute, and thank you for letting me go a little bit over.
Oh, you're
But
welcome.
Pete, now that you have
I'd have kept on talking, but I actually have another interview in about 20 minutes.
see, you're so popular. You're getting the words coming. Whatever in the sandbox, your sandbox is working.
Sandbox is working. Oh, yes. It's a wonderful journey. It's a wonderful journey, my friend. I will leave with this little thought. I get overwhelmed because it's a lot. Sometimes things happen fast and it can be overwhelming. And life for any of us on any given friggin' day can get overwhelming, can it?
Right.
What I would say is that when I get that feeling, they drop into my mind. Breathe, darling, breathe into the present moment because the present moment is the only thing that is real. So you breathe it in and just know how loved you are. You are so, so loved in this moment. You are so, so loved in this moment. And there is your power. There is your power.
Thank you. I love that. And your new website,
I
present.
do. Presentmomentmagic.net. Yep, that's my website. I have a Facebook group, Present Moment Magic Dash Kelly Bowker is my Facebook group. It's a very supportive group for people who are trying to awaken and go through all this kind of stuff. I'm not taking one-to-ones right now. I may. I have a wonderful, I call it my email tribe. Once a week, I send out a little email blast to people. So if you'd like to be part of that email blast, email me at kellybowker7@gmail.com. I think I hit it all. I do classes. I do at least 2 a week. A lot of times I do one on the weekend, but it's always short notice. So you got to be part of my tribe or part of my Facebook page to know about those. But I
Okay.
do it Wednesday night at 7 p.m. I get on at 6:30 just to chat, and it's wonderful. Life is grand. Life is grand. It's wonderful.
Why not one-on-ones anymore? Just too
Too busy.
busy.
And you know what, honey? The questions are all the same.
Hmm.
People are seeking and the answers are all the same.
Interesting.
And when I was doing a practice that they taught me where I was teaching it to a group, I had about 40 people online, and I did this and I was sending power, creative power into the future. And I was channeling this. So I mean, I was just off here, and they dropped my YouTube, my screen into my mind, and down at the bottom I saw 1057. So I mean, right now I'm around anywhere from 20 to 40, and I see
Wow.
1057. Well, shoot, I like the idea of that.
Huh.
Yeah. So I'm just along for the ride.
Yeah. Oh, so good. Oh, I love it. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Appreciate you. Loved
Appreciate
every
you.
second of it. I will miss it's just like you've been part of my world, and then I go on to the next podcast, but you've been part of my heart. Always will be, but like listening to you, and I'll be now that chakra class that's on your website, the angel chakra class that you're going to start. It's not
Yeah.
starting yet though, right?
Nope, nope, nope. It's out there. It's brewing in my mind.
Okay.
It's not there yet.
Okay.
Right
Yes.
now,
Anyway.
now I'm staying focused on the classes that I'm doing like 2 90-minute things a week.
Okay.
But
And we can all be part of that.
I'll be part of it. You can
Okay.
be part of my 1057.
Exactly. I love it. All right, Kelly, thank you so much.
Thank you, my friend.